Hi everyone, welcome to this video on the refrain, a Eurorack Analog, step 3, unfolding. Just a quick review. So far we've talked about the first step, chaos, the plane of consistency, pure potential, no differentiation. Then we moved on to marking. This is where we stabilize chaos through an act, through a cut, by making a mark, drawing a line in the undifferentiated field. And now we're moving on to step 3, unfolding. The idea of unfolding is that we develop the mark's internal qualities. This is where recurring recognitions build familiarity and depth. Using our analogy of the Mona Lisa, this is where we're looking at her face and thinking, there's a face. The face is smiling. Her eyes are looking at me. She's wearing a dark dress. We haven't changed or recontextualized the face, but we're putting meat on the bone. We're adding meaning, elaborating its internal features. How am I doing that? Well, there are 4 modules added. Those modules are the sequential voltage source 245T from Booklet and Tip Top Audio, the quad function generator 281T, also from Tip Top Audio. We have ripples version 1 from Mutable Instruments, and we have Ruina Versio from Noise Engineering. Let's go through each of these in turn so that I can explain the patch. Before I do that, I just want to explain one more thing. I have actually changed something in this patch. There are 2 things. Firstly, what I'm doing is keeping beads 100% wet, and then I'm taking the original audio from the radio music and then putting that into my mixer. So the mixer has 2 channels going into it. It has the dry channel and then it has the wet channel from beads. That means that I can route the audio from beads through other modules, as we're going to see in this project. The other thing that I've changed, if you look carefully on beads, you can see that now the CV voltage from Ornament and Crime goes into density, not into pitch. I don't know why it's set up this way, but actually pitch doesn't track voltage per octave very well. It's changing the pitch of the seed, whereas if you put it into density, it's changing the pitch of the speed that the seeds are repeated, which actually tracks much better to voltage per octave, which you will see in the video as I move through it. So the first module, as I said, is the 24T from Buchla. It's basically a 5-step sequencer, or sorry, it's basically 4 5-step sequencers alongside a pulsar, which is essentially a clock, and that clock is voltage controllable. There's a gate out. You can see these lights flashing at the top. There's a gate out for each of the 5 stages. And also it has this input at the bottom called analog, which is really cool. So basically the way it works is this. Analog accepts a voltage between 0 and 10 volts. As the voltage moves, the gates from the 5 stages change. So if the voltage is between 1 and 2, it's between 0 and 2 volts, the first light flashes. If it's between 2 and 4 volts, the second one flashes, and so on. So what I've done is I've patched the pulsar from the 245 into the source of uncertainty, but I've patched it into the quantized random voltages here. And I've set it to the middle setting, which basically gives a very even distribution of randomized stepped voltage. And as you can see, this basically gives you random gates coming out of those 5 outputs. I'm using two of those outputs, number 1 and number 4. Number 1 is going into a mult, and then this is controlling an envelope on the 281 quad function generator. This generator actually has 4 envelopes. You can trigger it with a button, you can trigger it with a pulse, and you can change between cycle, an AD attack decay envelope, or an ASR attack sustain release envelope. This last one means that the voltage stays high when the gate stays high. In summary then, we've got this 5-stage sequence being sequenced by a random voltage. We've got the gates, and those gates are firing the 281, and also they are firing the quantizer. This just means that the new quantized voltage and the envelope fire at the same time, so we get a nice clean note. Where are the envelopes going? Well, the envelope is going into ripples from mutable instruments. It's a clever little filter in that you can just use it as a normal filter, but it also has a built-in VCA that you can see is labeled gain. That means that if you mult it, you can see I've used this red banana cable. If you mult it to the frequency and to the gain, it works as a resonant low-pass gate, and this is how I've set it up. Then the output from ripples goes into Ruina Versio. The Versio platform is a Eurorack DSP platform designed by Noise Engineering. It's a hardware module with 1 knob per function, which makes it very intuitive to use. However, you can change the firmware using a computer, which means you can basically change the entire functionality of the module. This is a Ruina Versio, which is a distortion module, but I've changed the firmware to Yester Versio, which is a simple delay. It gives a nice delay sound that you'll hear in a moment. Is that everything? Not quite. Back to the 245. You can see, as I said earlier, that I patched the gate number 4 out. This gate is actually going into this mute switch here. And what this mute switch does is it allows me to stop and start that gate. And then that gate goes into the smush, which it's the smush button on Ruina Versio, but on Yester Versio, it's the tap for the delay. And that means that you can tap the tempo of the clock of the delay. Because I've put this gate into it and the gate is random, it means when I change the gate, it goes from quite controlled and sensible, so it behaves itself. But if I turn the gate on, it goes crazy, which is lots of fun. Right then, so let's have a listen to the patch. First, let's listen to the dry signal. In the background, you should be able to hear the random noises and things that are coming from radio music. That's going into beads, so let's have a listen to what beads is doing. Let's freeze it. Let's turn the size right down. Let's turn the shape to triangle. Density is high. Let's make sure all of these attenuverters are straight up. And now, when I turn this on, we should get a tone from it. Yeah, we can hear the tune coming through. It's much cleaner than before. The reason it's much cleaner than before, as I said, now the quantized voltages are going into density. It tracks voltage per octave much better. I tuned this to middle A, which means that, again, it tracks much better. So that's why it sounds quite good. Then also the output from that is going into this low pass gate. And then that low pass gate is being controlled by the function generator. And then that is going into the delay from Ruina Versio, and it sounds quite good. So what can we do with this to change it up? Well, we can make the envelope longer. And we've got quite a nice mix of the noise in the background and then the tune on top. We can slow it down, so we can slow down our original voltages. So the gates are longer. We can make the envelope a lot smaller. We can also, because these gates are being controlled by this, this pulse, so if I speed the pulsar up, we get lots of notes. If I slow it right down, we get really long gates. What we could do is get a really long tone by turning the envelope right up. Which sounds quite nice. With this attenuverter here, this is controlling the voltage that's going into the quantizer. So what I can do here is I can turn this down to get a bassier sound. Turn the attenuverter, so the offset down to lower the pitch, and then I can play with this attenuverter to give a wider range of pitches. We can also play with beads. We can increase the size. Giving a much bigger, wider grain. I can even randomize that. If we want to really pull it apart, you can change the time. You get this really crunchy sound from it. What else can we do? Oh, with the with ripples, we could add some resonance, make it squelchier. Make it longer by opening up the cutoff. Play with the envelope. Play with the make a real bassy, squelchy bassy tone. Make a really long. And the last thing we have to play with is the delay. This can get pretty crazy pretty quickly. This one is a wave folder, so we can really go cataclysmic. Which doesn't sound great. This one is a chorus. But what we can do now is turn on. This is turning on the tab. So it's changing the delay time with voltage. I think that's enough of that. Well, anyway, you get the idea, lots to play with, and you can see that I've taken the simple refrain from last time, and then by adding these other modules, it's just polishing the sequence, adding meat to it, but not actually changing anything about it fundamentally. Brilliant, see you next time, bye.